Good evening, everyone. You're listening to Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this is your Red Pill News. I hope that everyone has had a safe and happy Friday. It's the end of the work week, and you know what time it is. It is time for Friday Night Livestream. We have several excellent guests in the house tonight. First of all, joining us is going to be Linda and Leonard of C-Vine News Network. Yes, they are here to talk to us yet again about some updates in regards to the military tribunals that are actually taking place. Also,
Roundup Weed Killer, the herbicidal product commonly used to kill weeds by millions of Americans at home and at work, has been declared cancer-causing by agency of the World Health Organization. Scientific studies have shown a causal association between Monsanto Roundup Weed Killer and an increased risk of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Glyphosate, the active chemical in Roundup, is likely a cancer-causing agent according to the World Health Organization's International Agency for Research on Cancer, the IARC. The IARC listed Roundup's ingredient glyphosate in Group 2A on its list of agents that may cause cancer. A Group 2A listing means the ingredient is probably carcinogenic to humans. If you or a loved one...
Oh, you guys, I'm sorry. I just got a message that the commercial was echoing. So, we are going to go to my backup commercial. Here we go. 1 second.
Kill weeds by millions of Americans at home and at work has been declared cancer-causing by agency of the World Health Organization. Scientific studies have shown a causal association between Monsanto Roundup Weed Killer and an increased risk of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Glyphosate, the active chemical in Roundup, is likely a cancer-causing agent according to the World Health Organization's International Agency for Research on Cancer, the IARC. The IARC listed Roundup's ingredient glyphosate in Group 2A on its list of agents that may cause cancer. A Group 2A listing means the ingredient is probably carcinogenic to humans. If you or a loved one have been exposed to Roundup and were later diagnosed with cancer, you may be entitled to financial compensation. To see if you qualify for compensation today and get information about the ever-changing legal environment surrounding Roundup and to have your rights explained, please visit www.claimroundup.com. That's www.claimroundup.com and see if you qualify for compensation.
Okay. All right, guys, thank you so much for that. I appreciate you sticking with us. Sorry about the echo, but we were able to get it taken care of. I just want to say thank you so much to Linda and Leonard for being here. And while we've got the chat on the screen, just want to say hello to everyone in the audience. We've got patriots from Alabama, South Carolina, St. Petersburg, Florida, Athens, Texas, Georgia, Iowa. Someone says Gitmo. I don't know if that's about the guests or if they're actually on the chat from Gitmo. Houston, Texas, Alabama, California, France. Hello from France. Worldwide Patriots. Wyoming, Phoenix, Arizona, Georgia, Illinois, Tennessee, Rifle, Colorado, Northern Texas, Kansas, Australia, Oregon, Virginia, Memphis, Ohio, Walla Walla, Washington, Maryland, Minnesota, Indiana, Tarzana, California, and there's just too many. I can't even see them all. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. If I can make a quick request, do please share this broadcast on your favorite social media platform. Also, don't forget to drop a like if you enjoyed the presentation. And now that we've gotten that out of the way, I need to welcome my guests for the evening in the first hour, Linda and Leonard of C-Vine News Network. Hello, folks. How are you guys doing tonight?
Oh, hey, Red Pill. Thank you for having us on.
Right.
Thank you so much for being here, you guys. Well, I hope that everyone caught the first time that Linda and Leonard were on the program. This was several months ago, and we've gotten a little bit higher tech setup on both of our ends, so hopefully the sound is awesome, you guys. I'm glad you guys are all here to check this out, because there are not, well, I mean, basically, C-Vine's the only outfit in the house covering these actual military tribunals that are going on. Now, one thing I want to address before we begin, there was an account that likes to, I guess, maybe style itself as a bit of a know-it-all in in terms of this movement. But they said the other day that no one's covering the tribunals, and that includes c-vine. Well, you guys know that I don't like to put anything out there if I can't verify it. And if I do put it out, I say this is unverified. It's conjecture. But I've actually spoken to the DOD contact that Linda and Leonard were in contact with to be these people that are covering the military tribunal. So, Linda and Leonard, these tribunals are real.
Yes, they are.
And they're not actual tribunals yet, but the pre-trials.
Well, yeah.
And they are going on at Gitmo. And gentleman's name is Ron Fleisvig. He's the media relations person at the DOD, and we work with him on a regular basis. Got pictures of us.
Yep. So, this account, they don't know what they're talking about. This is the real deal here. Sharon Brasa, thank you for that super chat. Also, thank you to Jeff, my buddy Jeff Stewart. He's always in the audience. So, since the last time you folks were on the program, has there been any breaking news coming out of these pre-trials? Anything new coming up?
Yeah, some huge stuff. Do you mind if I go to my screen?
Not at all. Not at all. Share it.
Okay. I'm going to have to minimize this to be able to see it.
Hold on. I'm going to go to the intro card.
Things up.
You let me know when you're ready.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to share my screen. Well, actually, I do have to share it, don't I? I have to do it. Okay. So I'm going to click share.
Okay. Now, as you're doing that, I see some people asking questions in the audience. People may not know that there are pre-trials taking place right now for actual military tribunals for people who have committed acts of terrorism against the United States. They are housed in Gitmo, and their trials are going to be taking place rather quickly here. But we have some information on the screen from Linda right there. This is from the Office of Military Commissions. Please tell us about this.
Yes, I'm trying to show everybody that the DOD, Department of Defense, does have this website that gives you all the information. You can see whatever trials are going on. You can see the motions that the attorneys make. You can see the rulings that the judges make. You can see what judges are on. You can see everything. I'm just showing this to you to help walk you around a little bit. When you go there, it even tells you the different places where you can go to see the closed caption things coming from Gitmo. Down here, it says calendar. You click on that. I'm afraid to click on it because it's real slow right now. But it'll show you the calendar of every single tribunal that's going on.
So basically, people can verify the information that you're presenting. It's not like other channels that are just telling you that stuff's going on. You guys have information that is verifiable.
This is through the Department of Defense, okay?
Yep.
So, it's no rhetoric. I'm showing you fact here. Over in the right-hand side, it says daily transcripts. When the transcripts come out, that's where they will be. And so I just wanted to show you that here. Also, the cases. Now, the ones that we cover most of the time are Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, which is also called KSM, et al, meaning 5, or the others is what it means. And when you click on that, it'll actually take you to the KSM et al. Things that it will show all the different motions and rulings and etc. that come out. See, this is what I was afraid of. It's not moving.
No problem.
But anyway, all right. So going on to the next thing, I want to bring this up when we share our transcripts. We say this every time, but for some reason, people still miss it. Is at the top of the transcripts when they first come out, it will say unofficial, unauthenticated transcript. It says this with everybody. This is put out like this as a study guide, okay? It's always put out like this. Ron Fleisvig said it is put out this way so we can be able to use it as a memory aid and etc. There may be some spelling errors, there may be some punctuation problems, this type of thing. But otherwise, it is good to go, and it has been vetted to go out there.
All right.
So that also can be verified. So
Now,
I just
also,
wanted to go through
Linda,
that.
can people get to this Army website by visiting c-vine, your website? Do you have a link
well,
there?
what we do is we go ahead and we download the transcripts
Okay.
for you, and we put them on our website. Yes.
Okay. Great.
And so that is available under the tribunal section of the website.
Okay,
Hey, Red
great.
Pill, I would like to add that it's not just the 9/11 pretrial. There's also a pretrial going on involving the USS Cole, as well as a bombing in the Marriott. So it's not just 9/11.
Okay. Good to know. Good to know. Well, so the last time you guys were on, it was like things were just kind of starting to ramp up. I mean, how many like actual like pre-trial events or anything have there been that you guys have been there to cover?
Well, we've been there since January 28th, and every single month they go on approximately 5 days every month. And so that's part of what I was going to go over with you is the breaking news that's happening now.
Okay.
But we have been there every single month, whether it was us, it might have been me, it might have been Leonard, it might have been a couple of other people that we have trained at c-vineinternational that are there actually. And I should clarify where that is. We are in Baltimore, Maryland when we go to Fort Meade military base, and the trials, the pre-trials from Gitmo are actually live streamed in via CCTV to the military base in Fort Meade. And so there's some special rooms there that you can watch these go on live with, I believe it's like a 40-second delay.
Excellent. So, I mean, what have they consisted of? I mean, is it just, I mean, if anybody has been to like a regular pretrial type thing, I mean, is it fairly standard? I mean, is it just the prosecution presenting different like arguments or talking about what's going to happen? Or is the defense trying to enter different motions to try to push back the trial?
Well, you'll have the room is divided into two
Oh, and
halves.
I'm sorry, Leonard. Linda, if you could stop sharing your screen, and then we'll it'll
Sorry.
pop up your videos again. No problem. No problem. Leonard,
Okay.
continue, sir.
Right. The courtroom itself, you don't have any juries just yet, but the courtroom is divided into two halves. The left side of the room is defense, and you'll have all the defendants there, along with their attorneys. Now, on the average, each defendant will have maybe 5 attorneys, and then the attorneys will have legal aid people, paralegals, clerks, et cetera, et cetera. So they have a whole staff of people. Each defendant has a whole team of investigators as well as attorneys that represent them. Okay, on the right side, you'll have the government or the prosecution, and there's normally about 5 that show up as well as the judge. So on the first day of each tribunal, you'll have all the defendants present. They have to be present. They have no choice.
Okay.
The judge makes them, even though they don't. Usually, what happens is on the second and subsequent days, they have the right to not appear, but then they have to sign a waiver saying that they don't want to be there.
Now, this isn't Gitmo, everybody he's talking about. It's not at Fort Meade. This is what we see in Gitmo that's being piped in. Fort Meade is just one room with a large screen where we watch the CCTV and so on.
So what's coming up next? I mean, what is the breaking news from?
Okay, well,
Gitmo?
that's what I need to go back to.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry. Okay. All right. The 3 things that have come out, I think, is fantastic news, because the 3 things that have been holding everything up and dragging everything on have just been dealt with. So the 3 things, I'm going to go over here very quickly.
Please.
In the transcripts from March 25th of the KSM et al. Proceedings, it was brought out that one of the identified tape subjects came from an institution. So in other words, if you haven't kept up with this, the FBI taped the people planning and orchestrating 9/11 at least 6 months in advance. And so they got 118 lines taped. There were 25 separate phone lines that called in. And so they got all these taped. And they were able to identify the individuals that were on these tapings through a linguist. And the linguist said one of the people that was identified was an institution. Could that be the Clinton Foundation? Well, we don't know yet. Okay, among the many others identified by a linguist, but being kept top secret. So this is repeating what I just said. It has been going on and on and on that the family members of 9/11, the victims of 9/11, everybody from 9/11 wants to know who those people were that were identified on the phone above and beyond what they're saying. I mean, we're all pretty certain that it has something to do with something internal going on with the U.S., but for whatever reason, they won't release that. Well, that's about to change. Okay, and I'll tell you about that in a minute.
Yeah.
The second thing is the accused plotters were charged on June 6th of 2008, but President Barack Obama halted that trial to consider whether to hold it in a federal court in New York City and to ultimately reform the military commissions in collaboration with Congress in 2009. The reformed war court gave the accused Pentagon Capital Defense Counsel and forbade the use of coerced testimony or statements derived from torture in confessions by the by the accused.
Confused after the torture, I bet.
So it's within a military tribunal, I mean, the enhanced interrogation is what they call it, is allowed, and the testimony in the tribunal like that is allowed. But Barack Obama came along and put out this motion through Congress that it couldn't be. And so that's been kind of turned around now, but it took a little bit to get there. And I'll explain that to you in a minute. But that has been another one of the things, was another way we could find out what was going on. And number 3, defense counsel of Al Belushi, which is the money man of the 5 that are going on through the 9/11 trials, has been arguing to have his trials moved to a federal court with the arguments that at the time of Belushi's alleged atrocities, they were not technically at war. So therefore, he should be tried in a federal court and not a military tribunal. If it is ruled to move to a federal court, this could set up a precedent for others and cause certain problems for we the people in learning the identities of the tape conversations. That's the other thing. The difference between what you can do in federal court and military tribunals are 2 very different things. And so that's why it's been constant chaos and drama that things have been held up. So let me tell you about what the good news is. I just needed to explain some of this to you. All right. This is a ruling that the new judge, some of the drama I'm going to explain to you about in the future, but the new judge that just came out this last month has been on the ball, reversing a lot of this BS and getting things done. So this ruling just came out, and I'm not going to read over the entire thing, but it was put out on July 3rd. It said, on June 28, 2019, United States Court of Military Commission Review, et cetera, issued an opinion vacating the commission's ruling, which denied the defense motion to take testimony from the witness referred to in et cetera, In other words, the interpreter, the individual that has identified the people that were on the tapings. They have been suppressing this individual since day one.
The government.
Correct. The CIA, whichever. They're saying that they do not, their argument is they do not want to give up the methods.
Sources and methods. They always go back to that.
The recordings, the sources and the methods.
Wow.
Right.
And so that's what they've been fighting, and they've been putting these in closed proceedings, which they're not supposed to be able to do that according to Trump's executive order, but they did it anyway. So this is just turning that around, that they can no longer put this interpreter in closed proceedings when they do the actual the trial and etc. So it will be in open court this next time, which is starting on July 22nd going through to the 27th. This will be the first time that this voice interpreter through the CIA has basically, there's been a motion. The order is I'm going to go ahead and give this to you, Red Pill, so you can post it for people. But it explains everything in it about what they can and can't do. And for the most part, it's going to be an open court.
Wow.
And there have been 2 other motions that have gotten rid of the other issues also, but they have it not sealed, but they have a place, what's it called? It's like
placeholder?
I don't know. It's like a placement for where it's going to go.
Okay.
If you go back to it, so it's
Placeholder, I'd
ready
say.
to Thank you. Yes. Okay. Because it states the date that it's going to be shown, and it is going to be discussed. It was actually what the order is. It is going to be discussed on July 22nd through the 27th. That also has to do with the suppressed testimony, what was put out under torture. All that is going to be coming out because they can't put it under closed proceedings anymore.
Good. And you guys are going to be there for that, right?
Well, at least one of us are.
At least one of you. Right. I appreciate how much you guys do. I mean, it's not cheap to fly, and even if you were close enough to drive, it's still not cheap. Real quick, guys, I just need to give a couple of quick thank yous. I already said thank you to Jeff Stewart. Always thank you, sir. My buddy Fink Packin. He says, howdy from Muffin County, Michigan. Where we bark one, we bark all. Lynn Little, thank you. Thanks, Red Pill 78. Sharon Barassa, again, thank you. Oh, Charles Pixley, former guest and esteemed colleague. Thank you so much, Charles. Glad you're here. Also, Gregory Klagenberg, big fan of C-Vine News Network. We were just chatting on Twitter before the show started. He's very happy to see you. Michael Kenny says, press 17 if you love the arrests and can't wait for more. We got lots of 17s on that one. Ryan McAdams says, this is one of the only places for real news now. Where we go one, we go all. Thank you so much, Ryan. I do appreciate that. All right. So any other? I mean, that's some pretty big news. That's huge. All right. I'd say it's a big win, and I would say that it is probably another nail in the coffin for the deep state here because.
You have no idea because it's all tying into everything.
Yeah, definitely. So is there any other big things that have happened or big things that you guys can think, or do you have any theories? If it's not the Clinton Foundation, what institution? Maybe the Rand Corporation or the Obama Foundation could be. Well, not that far back.
Well, I don't want to monopolize this, but I do have an answer and I do have pictures.
Oh, well, hey, go for it. I mean, we got an hour. Leonard, you'll get a word in, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm going to kick back when he's a son.
Okay.
So I'm going to go back and share. Okay. Sorry. All right. On May 13th, there was a Fox News alert that was put out only about 45 seconds to a minute long that I just happened to catch because I'm not usually even watching the news because I deal with it so much myself.
You're writing it, yeah.
I happened to catch this and I saved it and took the link to it and sent it to Leonard. I truly believe that was God ordained because what it was talking about how the victims and the family members of 9/11 were taking the federal government to court to release those names that they had from 9/11. And I'll let you listen to this, but you need to hear it very, very carefully, everything that it says, because this is your key. Emma, there it is.
Fox News alert now on new court action linked to the deadliest terror attack in American history, with the families of 9/11 victims now before a judge. Welcome back to America's Newsroom. Good Monday morning, everyone. I'm Sandra Smith.
And I'm Bill Hemmer. Good morning. Those families want the FBI to release the names of those who helped al-Qaeda from inside the U.S. before the attacks 18 years ago.
David Lee Miller is live outside that courthouse in Lower Manhattan for us. David Lee.
Sandra, survivors and relatives of the victims accuse the U.S. Justice Department of shielding Saudi Arabia's alleged involvement in assisting some of the attackers. Now, the families are suing Riyadh, claiming that the Saudi government specifically provided assistance to some of those who took part in the attack on 9/11. An attorney for the family says despite repeated efforts, the U.S. Justice Department has refused to release redacted portions of FBI documents that could allegedly implicate a Saudi government official in the terror attack. Relatives and victims say that they are outraged by Washington's refusal to name names and provide information.
Our government is complicit in a cover-up that is still going on today, and we are being, as victims, we are being re-victimized because our government has not been compliant in forthcoming with these documents.
The Justice Department is citing national security interests as one reason some of this information has not been released. Ultimately, a judge is going to decide. A hearing at this hour now taking place in the courthouse behind me. But Sandra, it has now been 9.
Okay. This is critical. After this came out, first a couple of things to note. They are saying there is a Saudi official. And that doesn't take away from what we are thinking is going on here in the U.S., but it does bring up something of critical importance. This Saudi official is more than likely al-Walid, which was the crown prince of Saudi, and at that time, but things have changed. And if you remember correctly, right when Trump, I'm going to stop sharing for the moment. Right when Trump first came into office, he went to Saudi.
Yep.
Still not stopping sharing. There it is.
That famous picture with the globe, right?
He went to Saudi and he met with the new crown prince, which was Crown Prince Salman.
Yep.
And they pretty much had a deal going on where Trump said, you go ahead and you get rid of the corruption and all the things that are going on of the blackmail and etc. And I'll allow you guys to trade again on the New York Stock Exchange. And so it was a little while after that, Trump tweeted saying, I wish Crown Prince Salman would go ahead and start trading. So in other words, he was seeing what he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of weeks after that was the terror attack in Las Vegas.
Yep.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead, Leonard.
What was discovered was that our intelligence, the United States intelligence, had discovered a plot against Salman, and said that this al-Walid coalition was going to actually try to execute him, take him down, and so he had this, Prince Salman had no choice but to round up all these crooked, al-Walid coalition.
Well, there's more to it than that, but you're absolutely correct, Leonard. They are pretty darn certain, and they have quite a bit of proof now that I have done in a previous video that just came out on YouTube that shows that the terror attack in Las Vegas was a coup to assassinate Crown Prince Salman. That was the main purpose. There was Prince Salman was in the Tropicana Hotel. There's a whole lot more to this. I understand what's going on through people's heads and so on, but I explain it in detail, exactly how it happened, how it transpired, and it was because of this, it was right after that, that when he got back to Las Vegas was when all of the politicians and family members and etc. were rounded up.
Okay.
And if that name sounds familiar, al-Walid, it's widely known that Barack Obama was funded by al-Walid.
Oh yeah, we've seen. Many people commented in the chat. Barry's boyfriend. They've got that famous picture of them wrapped leg in leg on the couch during their Columbia days or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, the other Saudi individual that I was thinking it could have been was Bandar Bush. Do you guys, and didn't he pass away almost like as soon as Trump came into office? He passed away right after that.
That's true. All these people are buddies with, who was it that was just arrested?
Someone in America, or you're talking about J.E.?
All the news.
Yes, we'll call him J.E. for the censors because I don't want to get it shut down again.
Okay, well, that dude.
With the island and the plane, guys. If you don't know who that is, just Google J.E. Island plane. It'll come up.
Well, it's also on that island that there were all sorts of, it's a playground.
Oh, yes. We're going to be going into that in the second hour.
And the political and, where all this blackmail and other stuff that was going on. That's why they chose to take this person down first.
Yep.
Because the dominoes are now all going to fall. And we're talking about all the atrocities, not just 9/11.
Yep.
But everything's going to be coming down the pike here all at the same time. Isn't that amazing?
It's a beautiful thing. This one arrest is going to lead to intelligence sources within our own government, intelligence agencies of other countries, multinational organizations. It is quite literally the tip of the spear. And I've been saying this for a long time. I think that J.E. is the keystone. He is literally what has been supporting this entire cabal operation because he was the one that was running the blackmail.
You're right. And, what you're talking about, I didn't know they censored you with that. And so I've been boldly just blathering it.
Oh, it was weird. Like the first video that I did about it, they restricted it. And then after that, I started saying J.E. and they haven't, given me any troubles with it. So, YouTube is very finicky. You don't know, what they're going to approve from day to day. But, I basically, all of my coverage from the last week having to do with that, it's you can tell, like I've got tens of thousands of views, and then all of a sudden everything just stops, and then it's like nobody's watching the video, like everybody was watching it, now nobody's watching it. What's going on? Well, now the last time you guys were on, there was some changing of the guards going on. There was a judge, but since you were on, the main commander of Gitmo was fired and replaced. I think actually maybe he had just been brought in and he wasn't there very long, and now he's gone. And I was very surprised to learn that it was for an incredible reason. What happened there? What was the deal?
Well, first off, I need to correct you because you're mixing two people up.
Okay. Go
it's
for it.
It's kind of a biggie you don't want to do.
Please.
The actual commander of Gitmo was fired, and they usually don't fire someone like that. They'll reassign them, they'll retire them out, they'll move them around, that type of thing. But he was fired through lack of competence, and that was because of murder. Now we'll go over that in a minute. It's more of like a soap opera for pretrials that are supposed to be really, really boring, and just nothing going on except motions and whatever the judge decides to do as a ruling to prepare for the regular trial. It's been, I'm here with my popcorn, watching all this stuff going on. But in answer to your question about the judges, the judge for KSM et al., the ones that we covered, was Judge Perella, who just came on just this last August, but the trials started this January. So I'd take up all day just to talk about what went on in that situation. But let's just say all sorts of drama happened that was suppressing all sorts of things from coming out, and rulings, detached retinas,
that's right.
Plane crashes, all sorts of various different things. But now this new judge came in without any warning. It was just Leonard was at this one. I was bored to death because of the week before. They were just talking about getting one of the alleged terrorists a laptop. And so I just let Leonard go on ahead. But the very last statement of the very last day, the defense attorney says, well, Judge, if I don't see you anymore after this, it's been nice working with you. As Leonard kind of perks up, and you tell the story, Leonard.
Well, you know what? When he said that, that was James Connell III. He's the lead defense attorney for Al Belushi, the money man. When he said that, I thought maybe he knew something personal about the judge, like maybe the judge was imminently going to die. And I thought, you know, if this is going to be the last time I see you, and I'm like, well, I literally sat up on my chair and I said, what's going on? And so the judge says, yeah, well, basically, you know, for those that don't know, I will be reassigned, and this will be my last, you know, hearing, and but I'll stay on until the new judge comes on. But that was kind of a shocker.
Well, the bigger shocker was that night when the plane crash happened coming from Gitmo.
Yeah.
And who died in that plane crash?
Next morning, and so that was kind of crazy. So anyway, yes, the judges and all sorts of things, they're cleaning house in a big way. And this new Judge Cohen that just came on just this last month is the one that's kicking butt, along with a brigadier general.
You know what? I would like to add that one thing that's good for everybody, we the people, is that the military commission spent a good portion of the first day this last time around to discuss making the tribunals more accessible to the public and having not so restrictive you know, measures to because they want, what Trump wanted to do was have everybody be able to see it. So they spent a good portion of the day discussing logistics and everything else. So basically, the bottom line is everybody was on board. All the defense attorneys, the prosecution, as well as the judge. They said, yeah, we need to make this more accessible. They're going to lower, not lower the standards, but make it more easier for people to go and have military sites from East and West Coast, because you probably know that all the airplanes that were, their destinations were California, so the West Coast. So many of the victims and families were from the West Coast. So what they talked about specifically was having multiple military sites as viewing sites along the West Coast so that their families can view those proceedings.
They're talking about having it at the Pentagon. Also, I forgot to mention the main reason I showed you that Fox News release was because a couple of days after I went to go see what that ruling was going to be, because they said right there, we're going to be having a ruling today. It's right behind me. And I went to go find out what that ruling was. And not only could I find absolutely nothing about it in any court documents or even schedule, I couldn't even find that Fox News link until I remembered after a while that I had sent that text message over to Leonard, and I had that little link, and it still works. So they buried it. But I even had one of our licensed investigators check into it. He couldn't find anything about those court proceedings either. Wow. And what was really interesting is this very last time in Gitmo, for the very first time, there were no family members, there were no victims, there were no nothing at Gitmo. There always is a place where they sit there and they watch. And this time, no one showed up. So they were either just really ticked off that, you know, they're continuing to suppress it, or it might have been what if the judge did say go ahead and open it, the brigadier general and, you know, this new judge that's coming out had better step up, because they're going to be way behind the scenes, so to speak. I mean, everything's coming together at the same time.
We had lots of people in the audience asking about that plane crash. Who died in that plane crash? Who was hurt? Who was on the plane?
Nobody one died. Nobody died. But there, I mean, sadly, there were pets that were stored underneath the aircraft, and they all drowned.
Down below.
That's so sad. That's horrible.
It didn't go completely underwater, but it slid off into, I don't know if that was a river or what that was. It slid off into the water, and nobody was hurt. But there were quite a few defense team members on that flight coming back. So that was something I found out about.
Could have been an attempt there. I actually do remember hearing that now, because I think that there was another issue, like just before that, there was another plane someplace else that slid off the end of the tarmac or something. Maybe it was when Pence's plane slid off the end of the tarmac.
Yeah,
it could have been. Well, any other specific drama behind the scenes there at Gitmo that's on your mind that you want to tell us about?
There is so much going on, and a lot of this people have already heard. It's coming down now, folks. I know you've heard this, you're sick of it, but it really is all coming together, and the fact that it's all coming together at the same time, it's truly orchestrated on how it is coming out. I believe that there are multiple countries all working together, not just because of 9/11, but because of stuff that's been going on all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
That there's a whole lot of white hats, a whole lot of individuals high up in government and so on behind the scenes. And we're talking including Putin. You remember on when he handed off the soccer ball to Trump after he had that private meeting?
Yes.
And so on, the ball's kind of in your court type of saying, it's all coming together. And it really is, in my personal opinion, like the second D-Day. That's why I said in my report when D-Day came about this last time, the 75th anniversary.
Yes.
This is the second D-Day. All these countries are all coming together right now. You may not see it. You may not watch it be going on. You may not see the big booms and the bright lights, but it's going on.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you say that. I mean, that's something that I try to remind people about all the time. And just the other day, one of the posts coming from our favorite Anon made mention of that. Just because you don't see this stuff happening in front of your face doesn't mean that it's not taking place. One thing I'd love to remind people is that I've said for a long time, I think that Jeff Sessions was a white hat. Many people didn't like Jeff Sessions. They thought that because they didn't see what was happening, that meant that he was part of the cabal. But Jeff Sessions is the one who started the JE investigation, okay? And the reason we're not hearing about this stuff is because they're doing it correctly. There's not supposed to be leaks. We are not supposed to be knowing about what's going on behind the scenes, active investigations, because when they do that, it allows the guilty to destroy evidence, to intimidate witnesses, to get their ducks in a row so that they can do everything they can to make sure that they're not going to get arrested.
People that are coming out saying that, we have secret leaks and, information behind the scenes of, there's somebody in here that's letting us know this. I mean, that's treason. You really think about it. It's, try to take people, saying top secret information behind the scenes and leaking it out to the public.
It's not supposed to be that way.
Right. That's why they keep things quiet.
Yeah, I mean, that's how the rule of law works. That's how the Department of Justice is supposed to work, and that's what we're seeing now. We're seeing the actual return to the way that things are supposed to be and the way that investigations are supposed to be taking place. Let's see. So are you guys still the only alternative news outlet that's covering these tribunals? Have you met anybody else?
I don't think so. The last time, we weren't there, but two other people, Bonnie Neergude and Linda Houck, were there, and she said that there was somebody from Judicial Watch, was a investigative journalist, that was there taking all kinds of notes. Also, we've got Carol, oh my goodness, I can't think of her last name. Rosenberg, thank you, from the Miami Herald. She's usually at Gitmo, though, specifically. We don't go to Gitmo. There's more people picking things up. So I think the interest is starting to come on. Maybe it's because people were saying, how come no one's reporting on this? We were wondering the same thing. But as of right now, that's all we are seeing when we physically go on who's in attendance.
All right. Excellent. Now, Leonard, this is a little bit off topic, but you had mentioned last time that when you were working as a police officer,
Right.
drop my pen. When you're working as a police officer, you had a near-death experience, you know, and you
That's
were
right.
kind enough to forward me a chapter from your book.
That's right.
I was real impressed. Okay. And
Well,
so
it's not my book. It's a book. It's called Red Dot Club, and it's the second book. So it's Red Dot Club Victims' Voices, and I'm the author wrote a chapter on my experience.
All right. Well, either way, it's a fascinating read. I didn't realize that, you know, this, I mean, you've always been a cop. You know, you've always been out there on the streets keeping us safe, man. So big props, major respect. I love it. So what can you tell us about it? I mean, I think it's very fascinating. You were a cop in L.A.
No, I was a police officer in Santa Ana, and I think I said this last time that I was stabbed on duty.
Yeah.
And then during that process, I had actually went through a near-death experience. And you know, I did send you that story, and you're free to, if you want to read it for your listeners, if they want to.
Yeah, it's only a couple pages long.
Yeah, so let me, well, you know, I mean, it's voluminous, so I didn't want to take up all the time doing it. But, well, I mean, if it's okay to talk about, I mean, you essentially went through the life review process. I mean, that's something that I've heard from a lot of
What happened was, we received a call that this woman who had a baby, and the baby was born premature. She was schizophrenic paranoid. So obviously, they were afraid of wanted to take care of the baby. So the county social workers would visit every day, and also a nurse would go out and visit just to make sure that everything was okay. Well, because of her paranoia, the lady thought maybe they were there to harm her and wasn't allowing these visits anymore. So what the county did was actually obtain a warrant for the child to take the child into protective custody. Well, I get the call along with a sergeant, and initially we knew she was in there, but it took her about 5 minutes to answer the phone. We went up with the social worker to where the baby was, and while we were checking out the baby, unbeknownst to me, the lady had hidden a 10-inch butcher knife in a paper sack next to the crib. And while I was looking at the baby, she just reached down and plunged it into my chest. They called, I was able to take her into custody. I had so much adrenaline. Obviously, I thought it was just a punch, but I saw the second strike come down at my face. I was able to block it, and I just threw her down, and I was able to handcuff her. But paramedics were called. When they got there, they saw that I was stabbed in the chest. So they said, forget the gurney. They just picked me up and carried me to the gurney outside. Well, it was during that process while they were treating me, in the paramedic van, that I was having difficulty breathing and was losing consciousness. And I could see the paramedic in front of me. But I went through this experience where all of a sudden I was like in the presence of God in a theater. And I could see that at the same time, I could see what's happening to me in real life, in that I saw the paramedic in front of me. But then I can also see the paramedic behind him. But the thing is, the first paramedic in front of me was completely obscuring the second paramedic behind him. So I was viewing the second paramedic from up top, looking down. And when the first paramedic was treating me, he had this look on his face, like, he had this look of horror on his face, like, we were losing an officer. And so it was during this period that I went through this experience where I was in the presence of God. We were in a theater, and even though I didn't see his face or anything, I knew it was God, but I was at peace. And during that time, we went through my whole life. Everything was replayed before me. Everything that I said, everything that I touched, tasted, experienced, was replayed before me. And to me, it felt like it was real time, but in my physical realm, I knew it was just a fraction of a second. So I replayed my whole life within a fraction of a second. And I was at peace because I knew that I had been stabbed in the chest, and I was probably bleeding from the inside. I was bleeding out from the inside. I knew this because I couldn't breathe anymore. It was very difficult for me to breathe, so I knew I was bleeding on the inside, and my I knew that my lung had probably collapsed. And so when this happened, I surrendered. I said, Lord, if you're going to take me, I'm ready. But I felt at peace about it. But then a thought came to my mind. I said, how sad. I had 3 young daughters at the time. I said, how sad for my daughters to experience life without a father raising them. I won't be able to see them graduate. I won't be able to watch them go through college and attend their graduation. And I won't be able to walk them down the aisle. And, when I was thinking this, all of a sudden, the paramedic in front of me, his expression changed, as if my condition had changed, and he felt a lot better. So I attribute it to divine intervention, I believe. And it wasn't funny, but 6 years after this incident, I'm sitting around with my family during Christmas, and my oldest sister, Lucille, says, do you guys remember when Len was stabbed? The doctor came out and told us that they had to revive him 3 times. And I'm like, what? I mean, you guys never even told me that I died?
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, so that must have been when I had this experience. So, when my middle daughter got married, I was stressing out because I'm supposed to write this speech, and I didn't have any material or anything. And then she had given me a plaque that said, of all the walks we have taken, this one was the best. And then it occurred to me that the Lord spared me. I could walk my daughters down the aisle. My mission here was not completed. And this book was written before I even got involved in C-Vine. And now that I do, I have been experiencing, the sharing of the truth, and I see this basically as a calling. And so this is another. I think this is another reason that the Lord has spared my life, because I'm now sharing the truth. And the Bible says that Jesus is the way, the truth, the life. So if we share the truth, we're sharing Jesus, and many will come to know him.
That's right. I was going to say, clearly you've got much more work ahead of you, and your participation in C-Vine is only a part of it, I'm sure. But what an inspiring story, man. Yeah, I think a lot of people are very afraid to die, But you mentioned your faith, and multiple times throughout the story, and I think we really are on the same page right there. I've faced death myself before, but knowing what I know about what's coming next, I have absolutely no fear of it. It's always been just something. You know what? I am here today. I've got my mission, and I know what I'm supposed to do. Right. And when it's time, I'm going home, and I don't have to worry about it because of that. There are so many things that are outside of our control in this world. And it's in God's hands. That's all you can do, is just let yourself know that. And when you can release any of that fear and anxiety about the things that you can't control, when am I going to die, you let go of it, and it allows you to be far more productive and positive as a force here on this earth while you are here, and you're able to do that. Well, you guys, we've only got a couple minutes left, so I wanted to show everybody the website again so that they can check it out. I know that a couple of my mods have dropped the links to the website into the chat. But you know what? I'm sorry, you guys. My screen needs to be resized real quick. But here we are at c-vine.com. And of course, you guys have fresh articles that are published on a regular basis. You've got that section specifically for the tribunals. You've got world news, education. You have a thriving forum. And then you've also got your donation page. I would just like to suggest if anybody wants to help with the C-Vine mission, you can go to that right there. And something that's important that people may not be aware of is that the structure of C-Vine. You guys it's a charitable trust. Okay, does that mean that it's tax deductible if people donate to you guys?
Yes, and we did it that way on purpose. We did not want to do it where any one person or even group of people owned it, because that can be hijacked, can be taken over. We didn't want to have any kind of advertising that was our choice, because the advertisers can sometimes hijack and or dictate about what you can or can't say. We do not want it to be a 501c3 or a nonprofit organization, because the government then also can dictate what you can or can't say, or you could lose your nonprofit status. And so, quite frankly, we were told that having a charitable trust and or a foundation was the way to go. It was the way it used to be before, I believe it was in the 50s, that the 501c3s first came out. It's the way it used to be. And so nobody owns C-Vine. This was built, I'm hoping that eventually become a public utility, but it's made for we the people, where we all get together, just like when they developed the Constitution and came together with our country. This is kind of like a thing to do for the Constitution, having to do with information. It gets out to the public, because there really wasn't anything like that before. You still have freedom of speech, of course, but of course we saw what happened. It's been hijacked, right?
Right.
So this cannot be hijacked, and we're putting together like our Constitution about, from now on, when the news is out there, whichever, it's we the people that are going to bring the news. We the people are in charge. And that's whenever we are out there fundraising, it's to cover the overhead, because this is your foundation. And we have so many volunteers, and we need more to be able to help with the editing and to help with doing some articles and so many other things that we have going on. Besides, we're going to be having a lot of tribunals coming up here soon.
That's right.
That we're going to have to be training a lot more journalists and so on. Nobody's going to get rich doing this, because no money going into your pocket. But we do try very hard to cover expenses. And as of right now, we're still not able to cover our own expenses.
So you're paying out of your own pocket.
Yes.
Yep. And I assume if people want to get in touch with you, if they want to, start writing or producing content for C-Vine, they can do that through the website, right?
They can do that through the website. There's an About Us section there. There's a White Hat Brigade that we put up, where if people want to pay like $99 for the year, we'll send them a white hat. That's what it says, is C-Vine
It's a
White
donation.
Hat Brigade.
That's right. That was my next question, is what other ways can people support you? So people can buy C-Vine merchandise. Actually, I had that ready to show people. I wanted to go to the White Hat Brigade. Let me swap over to that screen.
Red Pill, it's actually not, you're not paying for anything. It's actually a donation, and because of that donation we are giving the
We'll send you a gift. He still has his tags on.
yeah,
That's great. Oh, they get a trip to a resort?
Yeah, the people within C-Vine, the members, all, not all, but a lot of them contributed gifts to be able to give back to the people that donated, to help give them some incentives. And so those trips there are not timeshares or anything to this effect. Is a gentleman by the name of Dave McNaughton. It was given a bunch of gifts for his customers when they, purchased from him. So he donated a bunch of those for us to give to, the people that donate to us. Use your puppies.
Sorry about that, guys. Yeah.
That's okay.
Sounds like my daughter just got home. All right. So people can find you on Facebook. I've put that link in the description below. I've also included the link to the website, the link directly to the donation page. And then, of course, you've got a Twitter account. Anything else that you guys specifically want to leave us with here as we're closing out the hour?
Well, we're all, for the time being, even though a lot of people don't like Facebook, a lot of us go on there and we help fact check and research and discuss the news stories that are posted up there in helping to put things together. So we're all working together. We're all digital soldiers,
yes,
for that matter, and helping to get the real news out there.
Awesome. Well, Leonard, any closing thoughts, my friend?
No, just keep on keeping on. We are the news now, and Trump 2020.
Beautiful. That's something we can all get behind. Keep America great. All right. Well, thank you so much, Linda and Leonard, for joining us. Thank you to everyone at C-Vine News Network. And I hope you guys have yourself a wonderful day. And we'll be in touch shortly. I know I want to make sure everybody knows that I'm going to be on C-Vine show rather shortly. We're going to be recording on Sunday. So be looking for that, sometime next week, guys?
Yeah, we're going to probably do it Monday or Tuesday,
Okay.
If we do some editing on it, but it's going to be a humdinger.
All right, I'm looking forward to it. All right, again, you guys, thank you so much for being here with us tonight, and I hope you both have a safe and happy weekend.
Thank you.
All right, see you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, guys, so thank you so much for being here for the show with C-Vine. Next coming up is Where We Go One, We Go All. My friend Coloero, he makes some great videos on YouTube. I'm going to show you guys his YouTube channel right now so that you can check that out. Currently, he's got 62,164 subscribers. So if you have not yet subscribed to Where We Go One, We Go All, by all means, please do so. We're going to get him on the phone right now, but first I just need to give a couple of quick thank yous. Ryan McAdams, I just wanted to say thank you for understanding, buddy. And everyone, if you could just keep the chat clean. My mother is in the audience tonight. Also, YouTube is now scanning my chat and my comments, and it's part of the agreement now that if there are things that are objectionable in the chat or in the comments, YouTube will come after me. And I know that it's not applied in the same manner across all channels. I think that they're looking for a reason with me. I just lost a community guideline strike. It just popped off. So I'm trying to keep my channel in good standing so that I can continue to bring you guys the news and this stuff. The Proud, it starts with an A, ends with an E, MG Tau, Civil War Breakout Sunday, possible. Wow, I personally haven't heard anything about that, but maybe that's something that we'll come across as we're going through the show tonight. Also, Michael Kenny said, "Go away, troll slayers in the house." And Average Joe, thank you so much for that super chat. Thank you all for the super chat. Let's go ahead and get my friend Coloero on the phone. Ooh. I don't know. I'd say civil war is unlikely right now. I think that this is going to go rather peacefully. Is Quite Frankly in the house? Straight Facts said, shout out to Quite Frankly. Is my buddy Frank in the audience tonight? Frank, drop a chat. I'll try to tag you. At Quite Frankly. Nope, he's not popping up. Oh, I just called the wrong person. Let's see, where are you? Oh, here he is. Coloero.
Hey, what's up, buddy?
What's up, brother? All right, so let me swap my screens here. Ooh, oh, shoot, you know what? Hold on, I need to change something. So, one second, let me change that. We'll go back to that, and we'll move the card for the show over. All right, make it a little bigger. There we go. Now I am safe from doxing. Okay, great. But then now you can see me, friend. Okay. All right, great. Well, hey, Coloero Getz from Where We Go One, We Go All is here with us tonight. How are you, my friend?
That was great. I was enjoying that. I almost forgot what was going on now. I don't want that. No, that was really interesting stuff, actually.
Good, man. I'm glad that you were able to catch it. So, well, listen, I've been watching your videos for a while, and just happenstance, I caught you in my chat on a live stream a couple weeks ago, and I was like, hey, cool, man. I'm glad you watch. I didn't know that you were watching. Somebody would Jojo, are you saying there's an echo? I don't. I'm not hearing an echo, guys. So hopefully,
yeah, it's all good on my end.
Okay, good. Glad to hear. But yeah, so you put out a really great video the other day called "The Second American Revolution," and it's I mean, all your videos are sweet. Why is it saying people are saying echo, but I'm not getting an echo? You guys echo bad on this end. Okay, let me just test something. Oh, it's an echo on your end, Coloero. That's weird.
Oh, really? Because I have no sound coming out of my computer.
Yeah, and it sounds great when I am hearing it on my end. Bad echo. You know what, buddy? Let's go ahead and I'm going to disconnect the call, and
okay.
I'll call you right back. Okay.
Okay. Cool.
Okay. Bye-bye. All right, that's weird, guys. That's okay. He's got headphones on, you guys, so it shouldn't be echoing. And I've got, he's coming through on my desktop audio. Let me just check some settings for me here. Make sure that there's not multiple pass-throughs for Skype. Let's see. Nope, there's only one pass-through. Gosh, I don't know what the problem could be. Let me turn down the volume on him for what's coming through. And we're going to give him a call back. Let me just check my one more audio setting because it worked just fine with Linda and Leonard. So let's try this one more time here.
Okay, is that a little better? I shut off the screen. I was watching the screen and the other thing, so maybe that was it.
That's why.
Okay, yeah. I had it muted, but I didn't realize that would do that. Okay.
So we're going to try this again, and let's see. So you're fine. He's not. That's good. A little better. Yes, better. It worked. Okay. All right. We're good.
Very cool.
All right. Awesome. So, in your video, you were talking about your own personal journey, like how you got here,
right.
And you mentioned that you are a skyscraper engineer, and
yes.
Obviously in New York, so just a lot of really cool things coming together. So please tell us about yourself and how you started making videos.
Well, videos I started a while back. I've had this channel since about 2008. Obviously it was a little more like more posting for my music, posting like live performances and stuff. But then what happened was I got laid off in 2010. Thanks, Obama. Obligatory. Thanks, Obama. And I was laid off for 18 months, as long as I've ever been off work since I was 16. And I had a video editing program. And out of boredom, me and my friends hanging out, we just started we'd be hanging out and we'd say, hey, let's do this and think of a skit. And it would be like a one take. Most of them are on private now that I've been doing videos like this. But it kind of just got me good doing video editing, which is weird. In hindsight, it just seemed like fun. But now it's maybe that was supposed to happen, so I could be doing this today, so I could feel confident. And with the reason why I started making videos on this, more I guess political videos, is that I just felt compelled. I just felt like maybe if I could help a little bit, they're going for it right now. Right now, there's a bunch of people that, in my mind anyway, are clearly going for it. That's part of why I made this last video, just to show people where I was coming from. Because, you get a lot of the comments, oh, this is a psyop, that's fake, And rather than having to go, it's well, here, this is why I think it's real. And that's why I started making videos. It seemed to me the operation was to wake people up.
Yes.
This, on our end anyway, is wake up as many people as you can, because when big things do start happening, a lot of people aren't going to understand. But if there's enough people who do understand, it'll be okay, you know? And that was pretty much my motivation, you know, and it's actually gotten a lot of positive feedback from a lot of cool people. You know, I love my fans, and you know, it's pretty exciting. It's pretty exciting watching the things that they're doing and watching what Trump's doing, and I don't know. I feel very, I just feel compelled, you know, to help in any way I can, basically.
Well, you're doing a great job. You know, I mean,
Thank you.
it's incredible. You know, I mean, like the videos that you've made and the way that you put things together and the amount of stuff that you've documented and paid attention to. You know, I mean, I've been on the
Right.
Q train since essentially the beginning, you know, very end of October 2017, you know, so I see all these things, you know, and I think sometimes I take it for granted when I look at these videos and I'm like, yeah, you know, I'm just like nodding my head. But it's so important for people who have not been here since the beginning, or people who have only just recently gotten into this and realized exactly what's going on. So, you know, big props to you for the way that you put that together and showed it. And, you know, and your video
thank you.
about, we'll say that day in September, that
Right.
video.
Okay. Yeah.
That was incredible, you know. Can we talk about that? You know, I mean, when you were, you know,
Absolutely.
because that happened, you know, I guess basically right before you started your career in the industry.
That's correct. Yes, I started in the winter of 2002, and as you can imagine, it was very fresh on everyone's minds. And you know, it's weird in hindsight. You know, I bought it for so long, you know, but it's kind of like you can't see the forest through the trees. We were so right here that, you know, when that happened, we weren't thinking, hey, is this fake? We were thinking, hey, why can't we call anyone? You know, all the cell phones were down. Everyone's trying to call. I was trying to call my cousin work downtown, and you can't talk to no one. It's just this traumatic event. And then, you know, you got Bush standing on the pile. You know, they're going to hear from all of us soon. And, you know, it's kind of just swept up in the moment. And I like how they were talking about how they're working on the trial for the USS Cole.
Yep.
Because that's a big part of it, too. Because, you know, there was a lot of things that led up to 9/11. It just didn't happen out of nowhere. You know, the embassy bombings. There was, you know, I believe there was Marines that were killed in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
The coal, you know, all these things that throughout the 80s and 90s built up. So why would you question it, you know? And it was just such a traumatic event. And, you know, like even like working afterwards, I'd hear a lot of stories because we work outside. You're right on the top of the building. I know many people who say, you know, that's why I didn't really go into where they're planes, where they're not. I know a lot of people say we heard it, we looked up, we saw something hit the building. For me, for what I could say, see, I would like to think that it were missiles, that maybe they had subs in there and they shot missiles in. You know, you hear it quick, you look up, you see something. That's the only thing I could think, because otherwise, or maybe it was and there was also bombs there, but either way, something doesn't add up. I know people who say they saw something, and as far as like in some of my other videos and some of these breakdowns, I don't layer or something, but some more fun videos I get a little artsy. You can take a layer of a video, especially if it's queued up and you already got it ready to go. I don't know, 30 seconds, nothing. It would take nothing to layer a plane. You could just do it instantly if you're ready to do it, especially if you're ready to do that. So I don't know. That's just me. That's just me thinking out loud. But, you know, I tried to stick to some of the more concrete things while making that video.
Right.
A lot of people in the comments talk about the DEWs. You know, I've watched a lot of it with the Judy Wood and stuff.
Right.
There's definitely things with that. I mean, there were cars melted in the streets. You know, there's definitely a possibility, you know, that was a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But again, man, you know, some of that's just like, listen, we know it happened. You know, you're never gonna know for sure exactly what happened, but you just gotta at least know that these are the same people who've started every war that did this one again. You know, why should that even shock us in hindsight, you know?
Right. Well, you know, I mean, so many, the whole country was kind of like swept up in the aftermath of that event, you know, because you know, whether or not you were touched directly by like the death of a loved one or somebody that you knew. I mean, I think that probably everybody that I know knows at least one person that lives in New York. You know, I mean, like, We've got many people had family there. Many people are friends with, police officers and firefighters or people who work at airlines, So, I mean, in some way, it really did touch every single person, not to just mention the fact that it was, such a dramatic attack on the United States and the people who live here. But I was that stuff about dues, very compelling stuff, but I don't have the proof in the same way that we have the proof of just the math, just the math on how buildings go in free fall.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And and like you're saying, even if you don't know someone who lives in New York or Jersey or Connecticut or this area, that's America. Everyone was absolutely touched by this, no matter what. And and look what it's facilitated. We're still over in the Middle East, and like I said, I bought in line, hook, and sinker. I was like, yeah, let's go get these guys. No one here was thinking straight. This was just, and I'm sure like across the country, so many people were just like, we got to do something about this. But I'm glad I was able to have an open mind and finally look into that. And I've always known something. You always see things there at like late 90s, early 2000s. You start seeing a lot of the anti-white stuff put into things,
right?
Even like the anti-man stuff. And you start saying like, what's wrong with this? And you say it to people and like, oh, you're being paranoid. Now it's just a way of life. It's like, well, look at this 20, 30 years later. But it's just, I don't know. It's just, there's something, it's so obvious that they control the world, like not control the world, but they control the narrative through TV and everything. And it's just, once you start realizing how fake it is, I barely watch TV anymore. It's hard,
I mean, yeah, every time that I see some type of, like mainstream produced anything, it doesn't matter what it is, I'm always seeing the symbols now. I can always tell when they're sliding stuff in, whether it's as simple as, you got the Metallica sign up in the back, they might throw something in that they want people, just some type of predictive programming, or like a throwaway line, about stuff. Recently when in the posts we've gotten the stuff about people on TV shows talking about Q, dismissing it, telling people like, oh no, this is a LARP, it's not real. Well, what was it that led you to realizing the truth about what happened that day? Because you're caught up in it, you're watching it happen, you're right there in New York, so everybody, it's this fever pitch, like what was it that like first opened your eyes?
One of the things, not at the time, but in hindsight, a couple of years ago, was that Trump clip, saying, it was just saying, like, yeah, it could have been bombs. And then you start thinking, and then I just start thinking, being so close to them, there's no way a building would free fall. And that's what really opened it up to me, where I started looking, think, what does a free falling building look like? What is a pancaking building? That's the one thing a lot of people say, pancaking. And then it's just like, then the whole bottom drops out, then you start thinking like, what, they found his passport, did you see that fireball that came out? There's not a speck of dust from anything in that plane. His entire passport was all right. And then, just things like that just all of a sudden, it really doesn't hold up. The official story absolutely doesn't hold up over time, once the smoke clears.
Yeah. Where were you? Where were you that day? Huh.
I was home. I only had one thing to do that day, and it was buy the new Slayer album, which creepily is named God Hates Us All. And that came out on that day. And that was the only thing I had to do that day. And I was sleeping. My brother woke me up, and he said a bomb went off in the Trade Center. And then we turned on the TV, we watched. My buddy came over. We went. You could see Manhattan from across the street from my house. So we went across the street, we're watching. And I didn't see them collapse. We just saw them in smoke. And then, we had since went back inside, and then we watched them collapse. But it was creepy, man, that day. And then, like I said, I still went to the record store, and there was no one. There was no one in the strip mall. There was no one in the store. And it was just like, everything for weeks after that. Even at my job, I was working at a pizza joint at the time. And people would, they'd always play like these, generic Italian songs, like Lazy Mary, Get Out of Bed, stuff like that. And it wasn't. It was just nonstop coverage. It was the news. I'm at a happy pizza place, and they're playing, September 11th news, and it was just, I don't know. That's what they would have had to do to look what they're doing. And if they've still been in Iraq, still been in Afghanistan, you couldn't have done any of that without such a traumatic event to just basically have us. They used our patriotism against us, basically. Yeah. And I really liked Bush at the time. Yes, the first time I ever voted for a president, it was Bush. I loved him, and that was really the hardest red pill for me to swallow in hindsight. And they took that and led us around by the nose. And then you look in hindsight, what did he do? He didn't do nothing. Well, they did bad stuff behind the scenes.
Exactly.
But none of them have done anything they said they were going to do, and it's just all a scam. It's pretty eye-opening once you really start doing the math and start organizing, like actual facts about all this stuff. You're like, none of them did anything.
Yeah, I mean, I was at work that day, and I heard about the first plane, and I was, and then like while I was there, the first tower collapsed, and the guy in the cubicle next to me were talking, and I'm like a plane just took down the World Trade Center, and he was like, that's impossible. He's right. He said the way that building is constructed, there's absolutely no way that could happen. And I was like, well, that's what they're reporting, and so they sent us home from work. I went home. Chloe was not born yet, and so we went to watch the coverage on TV, and you see later on, you see the news reports like that woman from the BBC, and she's talking about the fact that World Trade Center 7 has already come down, but you can see it behind her, and then you've got the people on the ground talking about the fact that there's there was no plane. Somebody said that there was a bomb, and then you look at the I don't know if this was in your video, but the close-up underbelly shots of one of those flights. And did you do any research on that?
Right? It looked like a cargo plane or something, right? When you got close up.
Yes. No, like there was no windows. But it looked like there was perhaps a missile underneath.
Oh, I didn't realize that, and that's kind of what I always thought. I originally thought missiles because there's an NBC Live you can get. It's like an hour long. It's just their live uncut footage, and you can see the second one come in slow.
Yep.
And to me, it's not big enough to be a plane. It's not exactly clear.
Mm-hmm.
People could argue that it is a plane, but it's just, to me, it just seemed like more like a missile. Like they shot a slow missile, and look at the way that explodes. That's a plane. And if you're gonna say like, oh, that's the jet fuel. Okay, well, that's the jet fuel then. Don't tell me that exploded like that, and then the jet fuel is what burned for so long. What jet fuel? Did you see that huge fireball?
Exactly.
If you're going to argue it's jet fuel, then that's gone. That's what exploded. Then the building's just on fire. But,
what else was really big for me that day was the Pentagon, because there's no fuselage, there's no wings, there's no engines, It's just not there. There was just nothing there,
It's nothing. Yeah. And that's another one with that footage they released, 3 frames. This is the Pentagon. You don't have 50 cameras pointing at this. They have full live coverage of what happened. They shot a missile at it. That's where they were looking for the $2.3 trillion, which they probably weren't even looking for. Someone was probably pretending to look for it, which cost him his life. But, it's just, of course they blew that up, and then the thing in Pennsylvania, that crater was already there, or the cut in the ground, that makes the wings. So really the only thing that was added was the bomb hole in the middle. And then again, there's no wreckage. There's no plane there. So, would it disintegrate? What's that dirt made out of?
Yeah.
Adamantium? You gonna tell me? I don't know. I'm honestly, I didn't see it for years. So, I can't fault anyone for not seeing it. But I don't know what I was thinking. It's unreal. You look back and everything is disputable.
Yeah. I mean, what did you think when you saw the crater in Pennsylvania? That was another one. I was like, where's the wreckage?
Right,
disintegrating planes.
Right. It's so absurd. And then they're saying like, oh, they were calling their loved ones from the from the plane.
Yep.
You know, first of all, I didn't even get my first cell phone to that winter, and trust me, you couldn't get service on the ground half the places. You tell me you can't even barely use a phone in the plane now. You know, they're telling me they were just using these little LG flip phones to call from the plane. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's just
that was another thing when they said that they were making calls from their cell phones. I was like, you got to be kidding me! Like, I got to be standing underneath a tower to get a service at that point. I think I had like Virgin Mobile, you know, it wasn't even real. And yeah, just the idea
holding out like wire hangers and stuff,
right?
You know, like it's a TV. Like, all right, can you hear me now?
Not possible. I need to do a couple of quick thank yous here. First of all, thank you, God's Guy in the audience and Gina's Girl. Thanks, you guys. Glad you're here. He said, just because. Love you, bro. Grandpa C said, me too, or we go one, we go all. And White Hat, my government contact, said, my first assignment was WTC. A lot of sick responders. Yeah, lots of sick responders. We've just seen, people die all the time because of this, as a result of this, And, even I knew at that time, the first thing I thought when those buildings went down is how much asbestos is going to get kicked up and just put out into the atmosphere. And they were telling people that it was safe to go in there without respirators. What a travesty. I can't even imagine how many people they sentenced to death as a result of just that cleanup.
Right. No, absolutely. And like you said, people are still dying to this day. Yeah. And it's just, and the asbestos, that was known. They had to remove that. So it's all there, And it's probably even more than asbestos. That stuff just turned to dust. And that's another thing that lends itself to the dues. But it's just sad, man. And I worked on World Trade 7. They had shirts, said last to fall, first to rise. And even that, people would complain. Thankfully, I don't feel like I have anything, and that was in 2003, I want to say.
Okay.
So I guess that was enough time had passed. But there's people I know who say they worked on World Trade Center 7. That's where some of the claims are. And it was creepy. You could still, when you were looking down onto the hole, you could still see the footprints of the two towers. I don't know if some did that on purpose or something with the dirt, but it was just flat dirt. But you could see the shadow. And, man, it was just eerie. That was eerie. The whole hole was still open. World Trade Center 7 is across the street from the big hole that now is, 1, 4, 5, the hub, and a bunch of stuff. And that whole thing, man, that really changed the world. It changed the entire world.
And if anything good came out of it, I have to think that it opened people's eyes, I think, many people for many years have thought that, of course, the government does things that they're not going to tell us about. Of course, they're going to do things that they think might be in the best interest of the country, but not necessarily in the best interest of, the majority of individuals. But, like that, when I realized what that was, I knew that there was nothing that they would not be willing to do. And that was for nothing other than to serve their own ends. When they started, when it happened, and they immediately were trying to link OBL and Saddam Hussein, and then, there's nothing, so then they just make this up. I knew that GW was just looking to finish what his father started. It seemed like he had a personal vendetta. And it was so sad. It was so sad to watch. And at that time, I was trying to red pill people on it. I was trying to, to tell people, hey, they had nothing to do with it. And what they would do, you saw it on the news, they'd go out there and they would mention this horrific act, and then they would mention Iraq, but they would never say, that Iraq had some culpability. But they mentioned it enough in putting them next to each other, so that people just did it themselves. People thought in their heads, hey, it makes sense. A plus B equals C. Let's go take that, that despot out.
And that's, they know what they're doing. That's all that subconscious. Like, that lends itself to you saying with, like, TV, where they'll drop a little line, which really means nothing. It means nothing to the plot. But it builds in your subconscious these little things, white people are evil, pushing, certain agendas that I won't mention. But it's just like, they know, they slowly pepper their agendas. They slowly build, and you think, oh, what do you care about that comment? You know, what big deal? It's a big deal because then when someone comes and says it for real on a bigger scale, your subconscious is going with it because it's already taken in 100 of these little nothing comments, you know, and it says, yeah, this is true.
Yeah.
And they know exactly what they're doing, and it's kind of creepy looking back. And I don't know, I'm sure you've come to the same conclusions where, yeah, it seems like a lot of it's starting in the 50s to me. It seems like a lot of like documentation, like I know in Bill Cooper's book, the first chapter of Behold
Great
the Pale
book.
Horse, you know, it's Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars, and this is a document from the 50s,
Yep.
which talks about everything. Talks about how they're going to build up the welfare system and, you know, and basically control people with that. Talks about they're going to, you know, use the debt monetary scams that they started with the Federal Reserve. Talks about how they're going to emasculate men on TV, and then the husband's always going to be, you know, like a sad sack, and just so much more. And you read this stuff, you know, and then you hear about something like or like Richard Day's speech in 1969. The guy lays out everything we're living right now, which must have seemed so crazy in 1969.
Yep.
But it's like, you know, it's not a coincidence. They planned this slowly but surely, and you know, I think they went overboard, to be honest. You know, I think they panicked with Trump.
Yep.
Now they went so overboard that they opened up so many people's eyes that we can talk about this stuff, and people were like, man, this is actually making sense, you know?
Yeah. No, definitely. You know, President Trump, the inauguration of President Trump caused them to have to throw their agenda into overdrive.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, I think that they definitely were looking to, you know, take it a little bit slower. But then, you know, once he came into office, they realized, you know, they've only got so much time. If they don't do it now, you know, they're not going to be able to finish their agenda. And that's the great thing about Trump's presidency, is that he came in at the perfect time. You know, we had to have, unfortunately, we had to have this mass awakening so that people would understand exactly what was going on. You know, a couple years back, and I don't think people would have gone for it. You know, President Trump, when he was talking about the birth certificate, okay, you know, if at the time when they released that birth certificate, you go to the White House's website, it's the day it was put up. You know, I think they threw it up at like 9 a.m. You know, by 11:30, I had downloaded it and I pulled it on my computer. I was building websites at that time, and so I had, you know, did lots of graphic design. I pulled it up in Photoshop, and wouldn't you know, it's got 100 different layers that you can turn on and off. And knowing what I knew about, you know, photo manipulation, you know, it's not possible. It's just not possible to scan a document and then have all these different layers, you know? So, you know, that was for me when I got really red-pilled, you know, and I knew without a doubt that president, Barry Obama, was a clown asset. You know, it's obvious. There's no way that you can look around it. But you try to talk to people about it at that time.
They don't want to hear it.
Yeah, no, not even going to take a look at it. You know, real quick, White Hat said the contract with the government had to be 75 years because they end up dying later. I think he's talking about the World Trade Center responders. Does that mean that they're getting sick as a result of their exposure, but it's not taking their lives, you know, right away? I think it's just some type of chronic wasting illness.
Jeez.
I don't know. Also, Alexandria Occasional Cortex, big fan of the show. She said Bush held the My Pet Goat book upside down. I think I do remember seeing that, definitely. Sarah Wydell said, keep shining the light. Thank you for that donation. Do appreciate the super chat. And then White Hat said, random, don't forget July 16th, 20 years. What? I know you sent me a message, White Hat. I don't remember what happened 20 years ago on July 16th.
That'd be 99.
Yeah, that would be 1999. I don't remember. Well, drop it in the chat there, White Hat, because I don't have it here. Okay, so
you know, funny thing, you mentioned the iPad Goat upside down. That's what I went to look for when I showed that clip in the video where the kids are saying, you know, plane hit, building, steel, or whatever it is. You know, I don't think that's exactly right. But I had never seen that before. I was just going to see, like, you know, with him holding the book upside down and getting the message. And then this pops up. And how could, I don't know. You have the whole class plane hit, steel, or
Kite.
whatever it is, like
Yep.
that's just a creepy. It gave me the chills watching that.
Oh no, me too. You know, for myself as well, once I realized what they were doing, because that's a form of predictive programming right there. You know, it's almost like they were doing this ritual, you know, and I believe that. You know, there's a guy named Peter Levenda who wrote a book about how, you know, this event was some type of, you know, satanic ritual, essentially. You know, it's like a black magic ritual. And I do see that everybody is saying it was the 20th anniversary of JFK Jr. dying in that plane crash.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, makes sense.
You know, and that's another one. That was another big one for me. You know, I see that he's thinking about running. Hillary Clinton's also running, and then all of a sudden, you know, he goes down. He's an experienced pilot. You know, that was heartbreaking.
And there's so much, when you look into that. And, you know, I've wanted to do a video on that, but I kind of stopped myself. I even had one that was half done, and I stopped myself only because they've really been using that against the movement. And Q's never said nothing about it. Q was asked one time, and he said straight up, you know, that he was, you know, had passed.
Yep.
And, you know, and they try to pin that, but we're talking about it because there is a lot of stuff to, you know, shady about it. Shady about, like you're saying, like how he died. He was looking for a Senate, and then Hillary Clinton, who's never been in office ever, she's a senator in New York, and that's a pretty high seat. That's a pretty high place to start. And then you look at stuff like, you know, is he still alive? You know, I don't know. I tend to believe he might not be, but part of me thinks he could be. And if he was, oh my God, that would be the greatest thing ever. But it's just like, you know, I'm seeing stuff like one of the first comments, like you're saying, you like to read a lot of the first comments. I like to read a lot of them, even going past that, even though, you know, then you get a lot of the trolls, and that's hard to take sometimes. But one of the first comments is, I'm done with this Q movement. You know, JFK Jr. didn't show up on the 4th of July. It's like, well, who said that? No one.
Right.
You know, you guys said he was going to show up on the Q. Never said that. You know, no one said that. So these dates, sometimes the people hold these dates. They don't realize, like, that's people anons guessing, and you know, a lot of it can make sense, but. You know, I try to stay away from that stuff.
No, I'm right there with you about it. You know, I mean, I think that anytime there is like an implied date, you know, we've been told many times disinformation is necessary.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that disinformation isn't for us. That's for the cabal. Because
they know they're watching the boards, 100%.
Yeah, definitely. Of course they're watching. And, you know, so they, you know, there are implied events that are going to be taking place. You know, we are trying to interpret and decode this stuff, you know, and anytime, you know, there's been stuff, you know, that says, oh, this is going to drop in a week or, you know, 2 weeks, something like that. You know, I always make sure to preface it, you know, by saying, you know, hey, you know, this is just a prediction. You know, we're just spitballing. You know, making these videos, I look at it the same way as if I was sitting around with my buddies in a backyard at a bonfire. We're talking about what's going on, you know, like, hey, man, we're just having a conversation, you know. I love being able to do that. And, you know, and as far as Junior is concerned, yeah, of course. Gosh, if he was alive, that would be incredible. That would be incredible, you know. But I'm not gonna say that I think he is because I don't have the information. A lot of people, you know, have very strong feelings about it one way or the other. You know, but I try to stay away. You know, I have my opinions, you know, but I don't want to lead anybody astray, and I don't want to say that, you know, something is true and tell people that it's true if I don't have the actual hard facts about it, you know.
Right. It's just a fun theory, you know?
Yeah.
You know, there's no, what are you going to do? Make a full-on breakdown on it. And then, you know, say, let's be honest, it's most likely not true. You know, it stinks to think that way. I know, I've gotten swept up in it. They would be, oh my God, that would be amazing. But, you know, logically speaking, probably not. You know, something like that, you could hide for 20 years, you know, but, you know, of course, rest in peace, you know, if it's not true. But, yeah, man. And then with the dates, definitely, why wouldn't you? You know they're watching the board. Why wouldn't you lead them around? And they waste their ammo. They're wasting their ammo.
Exactly.
To me, that's what they're doing every one of those times. You say that, oh, yeah, 2 weeks. 2 weeks something's going to drop. And they always scramble. You watch them, even if it's not necessarily an FF, you know, if you will. They scramble. They're looking insane. I mean, half of them between Pelosi and all them, you could just see them falling apart at the seams, and a lot of it is all predicated around this. All right, next week, 2 weeks from now,
It's great. I love watching it. I mean, every time something like this is put out there, you can watch them expend their ammunition. They try to create some event. They've got to control the news cycle because they think that there's going to be some release of something, or that there's going to be something that's going to destroy their position. It is incredible to watch, and I absolutely love it. You know, this is, and I said this so many times, this is the absolute greatest time to be alive.
Oh, man,
and for so many different reasons. We are taking our country back. We are watching history be written. Someday they're going to write a book about this, and we are going to be able to look back proudly and say that, you know, we had some part to play, whether it's, you know, just in our personal lives or because we are blessed and we're able to make these videos and put it out there, you know, to help with the red pilling.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. And you're right. It's so many layers. Even aside from all this stuff, just in general, when Donald Trump started running in 2015, he gave everyone our voices back. You know, before we knew any of this stuff was going on, he started showing you don't have to kowtow to these insane psychos. You know, we would speak up from time to time, but for the most part, you would just get beaten down by people. And anyone, like, if your friends, they like did agree with you, they wouldn't dare jump in because they would know they would get jumped on too, and everyone kind of just like, all right, and they took it with a grain of salt. But Donald Trump's like, hey man, you don't have to go along with this. And we start speaking up, and we realize, wait, we're the majority by a long shot, by the way. You know, once you look at these rallies,
absolutely.
You know, I think he was just mentioning that. So reason why he's always talking about the crowd and showing the rallies. I mean, people are waiting in line. There's more people for the bathroom, you know, than going to a Joe Biden rally. Like
Exactly.
Bernie Sanders. I mean, the guy combs his hair with a balloon. You think that guy's gonna run the country? Say what you want about Trump's hair. A lot of work goes into that.
That's amazing. I just want to let everybody know the link I just dropped into the chat is the direct link to the Second American Revolution video. I saw somebody say that they thought that YouTube blocked it. As far as I know, you can still watch it. It is still there. And real quick, Ben Schwagel said, the earth isn't flat. JFK Jr. is dead. Disinformation is necessary. LOL. We'll find out whether that's true or not soon. And that's exactly it. That's why I try not to get worked up about any of this stuff, because I feel so lucky to be able to witness what is going on. You know, whatever is true is going to be true, and I can't control it. I have to be able to watch. I have to be okay with the outcome. And however it is, I do believe that it's going to be a positive situation, and I'll be very, very lucky to be here. Also, CJH, where we go one, we go all. Doc, hey, thank you so much, Doc. I appreciate that. And just as an aside, I want to tell everybody that my knee is healing up nicely. I had a lot of kind emails and messages from viewers. They wanted to make sure that I was going to be okay. I was a little touch and go there for a little bit. I'm no longer on my crutches, and I'm wearing my knee brace for about half the day. And people, your prayers have been answered. My knee is going to be okay in the end. So awesome. One thing I did want to ask you is, what is the mood like in New York now? We would send when we were on the phone that people were really buying the official narrative. How does it feel now?
I guess that about that event, you know, I would say a lot more people don't buy it anymore.
Good.
I feel like a lot of people everywhere on both sides. And, you know, that's kind of what almost sparked that video I made with the Second American Revolution, which is really just saying why I believe, because I was inundated. You know, I forgot that kind of started more as a leftist thing, you know, saying that it was saying that it was done by us. And I was just 100 comments, hundreds even, you know, Donald Trump, you know, he's controlled. You're an idiot. You're an idiot. Oh, you believe this? You're an idiot. You're an idiot. And it's like, all right, man, you know, who cares? Get out of here. You know, it's just like, so it was kind of like, well, I can't respond to every one of those comments. I mean, half the time I just block them. You know, whatever, man. You know, like, I got no time for this. Yeah, I got a job, you know. But to me, it's like, here's my answer. You want to, I mean, really, this is what I think happened. You know, I don't know. I'm all about saying, this something might not be real. I'll look into it. But I have looked into this. Like you were saying, late October you found them. I found them early November, November 5th or whatever. I'd seen that helicopter crash. I posted it kind of joking around like, hey, which one of you did this? And someone was like, yo, check this out. Catch up, he said. And that was it. He showed me like the first Tracy Beans video. And, that was, it was compelling. Maybe I wasn't sold right away, but it was like, well, this is something to watch,
Exactly.
no matter who it is. In Space Shot, shout out Space Shot, one of my favorites. Yeah, he always says, what does it matter where it's coming from? This is real. Someone's making these posts. Someone decided to make an elaborate breakdown of the world and lift the veil for everyone. Who cares if it's your garbage man? And it's so true. That's such a great way to put it, because here's what it is. Everything checks out. They're research leads. Everyone's like tries to, quantify as all these different things, all cryptic. Dude, the Trump administration went on 4chan and dropped a whole bunch of research leads before Google could catch up. And, basically, obviously you're going to Google a lot of them now. You're not going to say the same thing, but, we'll read them like, what did happen to Princess Diana?
Exactly.
Oh, how is the Titanic related to the Federal Reserve? And then, and all these things start going to the same places and start hooking up. And like you were saying, that guy was writing about how that might have been a satanic, or I guess, Luciferian event.
Yeah.
And man, a lot of it went to that. And it's just weird. You don't think about, I always thought about the occult, like, say like I was very into metal, so many bands, Satan, Satan, Satan. It was always kind of like a hokey thing.
Yeah.
It creeped me out a little bit, but I didn't take it. They also talk about going to fight in battle. Some metal bands, like I'm not going to pick up a broadsword and go out. So I never really thought about too much. But now in hindsight, it's like, man, should I be listening to these lyrics? Like, what were they trying to tell us something? Or, are they talking about real stuff? I don't know. It's been creeping me out a little bit the more I think about it. But there's just stuff with that. And you're saying like how like magic. That's a lot of stuff I keep running into too. And, I don't so much understand it. But, man, a lot of like, they say black magic, black magic, black magic all the time. I don't know, man. There might, it's hard to find like, well, what magic? Is it like a video game where you shoot fire out of your hand? Is it like a mood enhancer where you just like could put like a dark cloud over it? I'm not saying I understand what it is, but once you start realizing, you're like, every old book, every ancient text talks about magic in some way.
Exactly.
You're talking about like, like the witch trials in Europe. That was like, they were serious. They really, at one point, they weren't. We like to think about them as cavemen and stuff. They weren't that stupid. Somewhere at one point, or even Salem, people really believed in this stuff. And, maybe there's something more to it. I don't know. I don't purport to understand it really, but I just know it keeps coming up and it's interesting to me.
I personally believe that it is real. I believe that we've probably had a couple of resets on Earth in terms of civilization. If you do any research on megalithic civilizations and the other like industrialized societies that came up before our current society and the stuff that they did, the technology they had to build those megalithic structures, they clearly, in my mind, must have had some tooling methods that we don't understand. We've seen evidence of that. Absolutely no way that you could build the pyramids with bronze tools, or like those winged the Assyrian statues of like the winged people from like what was it? I'm sorry, I just totally have a brain fart on this, but it's from Iraq. There was Anunnaki, yeah, the Anunnaki, winged, like hooved statues, and they were just destroyed by the caliphate that was just destroyed by President Trump. Yeah, they a couple years ago they went in with like jackhammers and backhoes and they just destroyed all of this ancient stuff. Just horrible.
Disgusting. Yeah, that's the purpose of them.
Yep.
Stuff like that. Erase history. That's what people don't realize with these statues. They're erasing history right now. Right now, it's like, we're fighting this. 30 years from now, no one's going to remember a lot of this stuff. And that's how you and like you're saying with the resets, it's probably how a lot of it happened. I haven't looked too much into it, but people talk about like Tartaria and the mud flood and stuff like that.
Yep.
And there's really not a lot on that. So or maybe there is. I don't know. I haven't looked too deep into it. But who says Who says we know anything that's happened? Who says we know what happened 300 years ago?
Yeah.
Look who's writing these books. So all we know is from what we learned from school. They own the printing companies of the books. They own all the TV. They own everything we've watched on the History Channel. And I love that stuff. I used to eat that stuff up. Now it's like, it's just, I don't know. It just makes you wonder.
It's very true. Yeah, and especially once you wake up and you realize that it's not just entertainment. You're watching predictive programming. They've got things that they want you to believe, and that's what they're putting out there. And just going through my daughter's textbooks and seeing the way that things had changed and the way that they were teaching things. Like we were talking about earlier with, instilling that sense of shame in who you are. Right. Like you can't change your race, you can't change your sex, and quite literally, every culture in global history has dominated and enslaved weaker cultures. Okay,
of course,
that's just how it happened. We do not, as a race, as light-skinned people, fair-skinned people, we are not the only people that ever made the mistake of having the people in shackles and doing work for us for free. And they like to forget quite often that the Irish were enslaved by the British and going further back for centuries.
A certain presidential candidate's family owned 150 of them.
That's right. That's right. Didn't her father just come out and say that?
Yeah. A whole bunch of stuff with her. I can't wait to do a video on her. She's like, what do they think? What do you think people aren't gonna hold you to these statements? He says she was in the first class. Oh, I'm in the first integrated class, and then people are like, dude, this came out before you were born. That happened. Right. This stuff, it's not even hard to look up half this stuff. Like, I don't understand what they think they're doing.
I honestly think that they don't give people enough credit. They think that they are either asleep or just not smart enough to do the research. And I would say probably the people that are hardcore followers on their side are really not going back and looking. I mean, they're just going to Wikipedia it. They're going to search it on Google. And they're going to find, the new information that has been changed. Like the definition of fascism has been changed. If you search it through Google and it's a right wing thing, no, it could be right wing or it could be left wing. Doesn't matter. I need to do just a couple of quick thank yous. Alexandria, Occasional Cortex again said Junior and Michael Jackson are alive and fighting PEDOs. Keck, yep. Kevin Craven, thank you for the super chats. Ben Schwagel said a plug for my friend's channel with good info. Mud Fossil University. I actually am subscribed to Mud Fossil University. Some very compelling things on that channel.
Check that out.
Yeah, definitely. He's had this one video about titans, essentially large stone, supposed to be natural stone structures, but but there's a lot of them that look like they're petrified remains of giants, basically.
That's in the Book of Enoch, right? They said the angels came down. They mated with the earth women and had giants.
Yep, exactly. And then also B-Tech Vendetta. I love looking forward to Friday night live streams. Also like how you include live chat embedded in the video. Where we go one, we go all. Had the best wrap-up on video on cue. Thank you. Yeah, you did. You did have the best wrap-up video. Very, very cool. And I hope that B-Tech Vendetta and everybody else is also going to be showing up for Saturday night live stream. That'll be, of course, tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern Time.
You're doing a music thing, right?
Yeah. We've got tomorrow. It's going to be Jeffrey Peterson, who exposed essentially the Arizona Mafia, which ties together the Democratic Party in the Southwest with the former government of Mexico and Nexium. Lots of organized criminal activity, you guys. It is going to be a really great show. I'm looking forward to that one for sure. Well, listen, we've got just about 8 minutes left, so was there anything else specifically that you wanted to tell us about, along your journey? Have you had anybody come up to you I mean, because your face is public, you know, have you had anyone that's found you and said, you know, hey, I love your videos, or maybe just in your work day, have you spoken with anybody that has, you know, hey, do you ever think about that event in September? You know, that was a little weird. I don't think it went down quite the way they said.
Yeah, like trying to bait me into talking about it.
Yeah.
No, so far, no. Whatchamacallit? It's funny because a friend from my work today, we were talking about just, you know, air conditioning. We have air conditioning in this office. We didn't in the last one. And he used to work in St. Thomas. And, you know, and we're talking about like, yeah, no air conditioning down there. It just has nothing to do with anything. And then I pull up a map. I'm looking at it, and I realize a certain island is right off the coast of that. So then, you know, that's another thing. This whole JE thing just opens up the conversation. Now we can talk about this with everyone, you know. So I start telling him, hey, that's this guy who's in the news. This is his island right here. And he goes, I went to that island. They called it Little St. Jeff. And
Yes.
he said they did work there. And that he said he did it right. It was right off the dock. So we looked up where the dock was. It was on like the northwest corner. This is just this morning. This is so crazy how the world works. And he was saying they did a big refrigeration building, which then I was like, well, you know, they're talking about X, Y, and Z, which they was a little creeped out. I showed him that picture with all the different channels, with all the
the security cams,
and saying like the one picture and said, you know, those refrigerators might be for something else. But he said there were armed guards on there. He said that they all thought it was weird. I think it said like 04, 05 or something. They didn't let him go anywhere. It was right on the beach. He said it was right by that dock. And they were like militant, like mercenaries there.
Right.
So who knows? Maybe, you know, maybe he's watching right now. If you are, what's up, dude? But, it was, you know, this is opening up for everyone to talk about this stuff on every side. You know, even though the one side is trying to pin it to a certain person, which is absolutely ridiculous. And, you know, and it's got to open people's eyes. You see, like, the Wikipedia changed. You know, Wikipedia is doing damage control. The news is doing damage control. Everyone's watching now. Like you were saying, you know, like they got away with stuff because they know people they won't look up because they didn't have to worry about it for so long. You know, so a small group of people were looking up things. But they didn't have to worry about what they said and it coming back to bite them and people being like, oh, well, the first integrated school was 1963, actually, because no one was paying attention. And now everyone's paying attention. You can say what you want about our favorite Anon. That dude woke everyone up, period.
Wait, who woke everybody up? You're saying Jeff?
Oh, I said our favorite Anon.
Oh, our favorite. Okay, that's right. I'm sorry.
Getting the comms down a little better. I'm sure.
No problem. I've got actually pulled up on the screen for the audience right now some photos taken of the island. I'll send you the link. So it's on a Google Drive. These were taken, I believe, by someone on a boat that was just out in the ocean. I know you had sent me that drone footage. Yeah. I think a couple of different people have gotten drone footage recently. There was another one that Method sent me over where the drone actually like went right up to the temple and looking through the windows. I'll send you that as well. I don't have it pulled up right now, so I'll be showing it probably tomorrow on the show. But in these photos too, you can see the underground tunnel entrance. You got trucks driving right in and out of it. It is very, very cool, and it's just great. It's great to see this happening. I've known about JE for so long, and I've just been completely stymied by the fact that he was not getting arrested. Nothing else was happening to him, and that fact in and of itself just. It lends itself to the fact that he is with some type of intelligence agency. Obviously, I said in my video last night, I think that he's working for the clowns, doing the blackmail operation. He in his original court proceedings, he was given a status as a confidential informant for the FBI.
Really?
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. That one actually came out several months ago. That was when I first covered that. But this behavior, you know, what's been going on, it has it's been the slow degradation of society. We've been taken over. We've been taken over by this Luciferian cabal. Yeah, there's no other better way to describe it. And to see it all starting to come down now, and people waking up, both on the left and the right, there's nothing better. There's nothing better because we know now that we're going to be able, our kids are going to be safe, hopefully in the future. I was very worried for the safety of my daughter and for the safety of generations to come after we're no longer here.
It's really what it's all about, man. It really all boils down to the kids.
Exactly.
They're the ones in the most danger. We watch a lot of this stuff and we're like, whatever, we scoff at it, you know. But they're just learning, you know. So they don't have we still grew up in a time where it wasn't so over the top, you know. Still grew up in a normal age. And that's something like I saw online happen like slowly. Like dudes I grew up who were normal, now they're just radical leftists, and talking about stuff that I know the 1997 version of themselves would probably like knock them out or something, like it's, it's just so like just to see people so completely buy into everything and change and just go with the trend. This is what everyone's doing. It's like, especially with FB, they kind of took the peer pressure of school and made it eternal. Yep. Usually you got out of school and you have to worry about that stuff. You can be yourself again. I always kind of just didn't go with anything anywhere. But now with that, everyone, you don't want to say the wrong thing, you're going to get yelled at. And, it's not even by your best friends. It's by someone you went to high school with. You had 5 conversations with 10 years ago, now is lecturing you like, who are you again?
Yeah.
Why'd you,
That's why I don't use Facebook.
Yeah, I don't go on anymore.
Yeah.
I've probably made 5-10 posts over the last 3 years, and maybe in the last like 6 months, one that I probably erased. I can't stand it. I really just got to erase it. It's pointless.
It's totally pointless. It's just for them to be able to keep an eye on you. Now, I just want to close out with this. We had a post that my friend Hulkinator sent over, and let's see, I'll pull it up onto the screen so that the audience can see it too. Let me just zoom in. And let's go right here. Okay, so J.E. himself did not come into federal jurisdiction. His plane did. Port Authority boarded his plane and arrested him. J.E. never touched foot on U.S. soil before the arrest. J.E.'s plane has the warrant on it. That is why he is willing to put it up as collateral for bail along with his $77 million New York location, also under seizure related to the Trump executive order. Exactly. All of his property, because he's involved in human trafficking. His lawyers are forcing the jurisdiction subject while knowing he won't get bail. The lawyer's filing document for bail is not about getting him bail. They are attempting to put the judge in a box. The judge kicked the can down the road because he doesn't want to rule on bail. That is why he raised the 3-day rule for the defendant and sent it to another judge to hear later. Folks, we have our first military tribunal about to happen. This case is outside the civil court jurisdiction. The only question I have is, didn't he appeared in court the other day? He appeared in court in the state of New York. So
he did, yeah.
Okay, so I mean, I guess, is it important that he was arrested prior to setting foot on American soil and now?
That's a good point. Right.
All right.
So I saw someone else make a good point, saying that a certain tie with the prince, and saying they still own Australia and Canada, England.
Yeah.
If you could really do that with that executive order, can you take Canada and Australia? Technically, in a way, you almost could.
Wow.
Yeah, I saw someone post that earlier. Some of these people are so smart. That's another reason why I named my channel what it is. This is everyone's work in a way. I wouldn't be able to find all this information on my own if I wasn't into a lot of these groups and seeing what people are saying and, just talking back and forth with people. It's great, man.
It is great.
It's really exciting time to be alive.
Yeah, it's the best. It's the best, certainly. All right, well, listen, we are past the midnight hour.
Wow.
That was the quickest hour so far. So I just want to thank you for joining us. This is the YouTube channel where we go one, we go all. You can find a direct link to his YouTube channel in the description below. Looks like I also put the Instagram in there. I do need to just do a couple of quick thank yous. White Hat said Trump just retweeted Hannity said boomerang of justice. That is so cool. We'll have to check that out after this. And also Ben Schwagel said, can you ask Coloero to check out Mud Fossil University and make a video about the info there? It would be interesting, but take your time with it. I have some contact with the channel owner. Okay. Yeah, make sure you check it out. I'll send you a text.
Yeah, definitely. I intended to after you mentioned it, yeah.
Perfect. Anything that you want to leave us with? Anything specific that you want to say? Thanks for being here so much.
Oh, no, this was a blast, man. I'm so glad you asked me. I would just like to say, some of this stuff is pretty dark, and I feel like you just gotta stay positive. This is a good time. These are good things,
Right.
And people are waking up, and maybe some of the subject matters are pretty crappy, but they're being taken care of finally.
Exactly.
So I don't know. I just think it's should be happy about this. This is awesome.
I agree. And don't forget, guys, just because you don't see something happening doesn't mean it's not taking place behind the scenes. And like I was saying earlier, everything is out of our control. All we can control is ourself, our actions, and the way that we interact with each other and the things that we do. So by all means, make sure that you keep your eyes open, your head on a swivel, pay attention, but don't let it stress you out, okay? Because as soon as you start freaking out about the things you can't control, that's when your life is going to spin out. All right, thank you so much, Coloero, for being here with us tonight, buddy. You are welcome back anytime. I occasionally do roundtables. I would love to have you back for one of those. I'm sure my friends at Patriot News would also love that too. Awesome. Well, I guess that's all we have for you tonight. I want to thank everyone for joining us. As always, this has been Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this was your Red Pill News. Good luck, everyone, and God bless. And thank you to Jeff Stewart and Alexandria Occasional Cortex. A great show, and where we go on, we go all. All right, guys, we'll see you tomorrow for Saturday Night Livestream at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Bye-bye.